Howdy, San Diego. It's Xavier Zamarron, the Cowboy Hat Guy.
Brian Landeros.
And welcome to another episode of Wrangling Minds. Brian, where we are today?
Today, we are here in the heart of Chula Vista at the Gaylord Pacific Resort. It's a brand new resort. They just opened it literally weeks ago. And we have the opportunity to come in here, check it out, see what it's all about. And so far, honestly, I am not disappointed. The structure, the way of everything, the architecture, the layout, it is massive. It is amazing. And I am so excited to check it out.
No, yeah. I think my first initial reaction walking in here was, holy shit.
No, 100%. As I was walking, I just thought massive. Like seeing the hallways, they're just so freaking huge. And it's pretty intimidating walking through the hallways, just, tiny little body and just endless amounts of hallways, bro. You really can get your steps in if you're walking the whole perimeter.
No, 100%. It kind of gave me flashbacks to Las Vegas, dude.
Yeah, exactly. You feel like you're walking. I was like, where's the casino at?
Like Caesar's Palace.
Like, where's it at?
Yeah, like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like San Diego.
No, it doesn't. As soon as I walked in, and I mean, the weather's not the best right now. It's not San Diego weather, but I already know that when the sun's out and the weather's warm, this place is just going to be full of action.
Yeah.
The pool outside looked super cool. Although it's a little bit lonely right now, it looks like it's ready to hold a summer party for sure.
No, yeah. If they start doing, like, once they have everything dialed in and they start doing, events and maybe open up a couple more shops, I mean, which I don't doubt. I mean, they have the space.
Definitely have the space.
They have the space to do events, throw in a casino if they want to.
That's what I'm hoping for, bro.
Yeah. Like, this place is going to be the next tourist.
Oh, 100%. And just with all this space for conventions, having different types of networking events that you're able to do here, I think that's going to be a huge, huge asset for the Gaylord Pacific. And, it's funny because let's say back in 2018, we were talking about this whole project being done, and it was barely being approved. And I remember for years on out, nothing happened. And then recently, out of nowhere, boom, construction came about. They started promoting it even more. And as of recently now, it's actually here. And just being able to actually experience the fact that once this was just literally an idea and now it's actually like, in the flesh, I think is amazing. And I think it's only going to be getting better. I think a lot of this is going to improve the quality of the communities around the Gaylord Pacific. Western Chula Vista is definitely going to need a facelift. And I know that they're already talking about renovating the Chula Vista, the downtown area. Yeah. I believe, and don't quote me, but I'll definitely look into it, that the people that are doing or that did Little Italy down in San Diego and downtown, they're the ones that are going to be taking on the project and renovating the whole Chula Vista downtown area, 3rd Avenue.
No, yeah. And I'm excited for that just because I think it's about damn time.
Yeah.
Right? Where, South San Diego gets a little bit of love, and, Gaylord Pacific was like the stepping stone for that. So I'm excited to see.
Yeah. So a lot of the questions that I've been getting as this whole project is going about, what is that going to do for, the real estate around the area, the houses that, are in the market around the area, and future families, investors that are looking to tap into this new development around the Gaylord Pacific.
Man, I am glad you brought that up because I was going to ask you the same thing. Like, yo, Brian, what do you think is going to happen around here? No, but I definitely see, like, once this becomes, the tourist point of San Diego, because we do have tourist spots like SeaWorld, what is it, La Jolla,
Pacific Beach, Ocean Beach, all are, the beach communities along the coast.
I feel like once that comes the tourist destination, definitely the prices around here are going to be affected. And yeah, I do see an increase.
Oh, 100%. And, just in, I live on the western side of Chula Vista, and just seeing this whole movement, I believe that they're going to have to, revamp the communities. A lot of houses do need facelifts. I like to say the whole community could use a flip. But then again, we have to be cautious of the people that have been here forever, that have established their roots here from the beginning.
Yes.
And I think, more than anything, change is always scary for some people. But in the long run, I am very confident that this move is going to bring a lot of good business to Chula Vista. Is going to bring a lot more, positive things to Chula Vista, where we're going to be able to do a lot more things, clean up the streets. And, I think it was, like you said, very much needed.
Yeah. And I do have a question for you. It's more like a opinionated question.
Of course,
Now,
I love those.
with everything going on, obviously with the revamp of South San Diego, South Chula Vista, do you see the California government possibly giving out grants to help homeowners give that facelift in efforts of, revamping the community?
That's a very, very good question. And just, me being just right off the bat response, I don't think Governor Newsom's gonna, go reach in his pocket and be able to provide some of that stuff. But what I will say is that there is opportunities to be able to do that without having to have government assistance.
100%.
There's strategies that you can utilize your equity. There's builder loans, there's builder financing, or even equity programs that can help you give your house a facelift, whether you want to do hardscaping, landscaping, renovations, new kitchen, addition of a pool, addition of a conversion of your garage into an ADU. These are all things that you're able to do that once before were so out of reach. Now they're very accessible to the everyday person. And just if you let me bring this little strategy that we just learned the other day, for military and for regular buyers, you're able to do a renovation loan when you're purchasing a house. What that means is that you're essentially able to go in, basically redo your house, as long as you stay within the limit. You're not doing any crazy high end fixtures. As long as you stay within the means of the community, you're not going all crazy on luxury finishes. You're able to do renovations up to $200,000. So that means that you're able to take a budget, go under $200,000, add fix whatever it is that you like within the the means of the property, and this allows you to go into a house that maybe wasn't ready for you, but now you're able to make it yours.
And that's the beauty of homeownership.
100%.
Right? Like, as we like to say, or at least I like to say whenever we're home shopping, it's like, hey, I want you to go in with a clear head. Yeah. Not every home is going to check all the boxes, but that's the pro about being a homeowner. Mm-hmm. It's not like renting where you have to ask for permission to paint a wall or have to ask for permission to add things. It's yours. And for it being yours, make it your own.
100%. And you bring up a good point. I feel that when buyers are looking at houses, if you know this information, a lot of the cosmetic things that might not look pretty when you're looking at the house, when you're walking, the carpet, the paint, the cabinets, the countertops, just think about it like, hey, if I'm able to get into this house, all that could virtually be replaced, renovated, and made a lot better. But the biggest key right now is finding that property that you're able to then look at it like a blank canvas and just completely make it yours.
Yeah. I mean, every single property with the right imagination, you can make it yours.
Yeah,
it's 100%. Like one of the projects that we had down in Hillcrest, 800 square foot house. But wow. In the backyard, you had a beautiful deck with views. The garage, they made a deck on top of the garage so you could enjoy dinner or enjoy the views. Mm-hmm. It's like the way the house was made, which by the way, it's still on market. The way that house was made, it's like it made the 800 square foot house feel like a 1,500 square foot house. Just the design, the layout was able to flow. And by the time you step to the backyard, it's like you wouldn't even think, if you look at the curb profile or the curb appeal of the house, you wouldn't think it has that type of view in the backyard. And I feel like that's the beauty of homeownership.
And to add to that, I feel that's the unique thing about, having the opportunity to buy a house, that everybody has a different need, want, like, interest, that some people don't require an abundance amount of square footage. They just need a place where they can call home and feel that they could build there. They feel that they can have those moments where, you guys can come over, just, make it feel like it's your house more than anything.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think of this? It's not the house that makes it home. It's the person and the family that makes it
Ooh, I agree with that 100%, because there's so many times that I've heard stories where they're living in a nice property. It's all nice, but the energy that's inside the property, the commotion, the interaction of different families living at once doesn't always work. And although you're in a very nice property, there's nothing like having your privacy. There's nothing like having your own space to be able to freely do whatever you like, walk the house however you want to, be free, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that, with home ownership, a lot of people shy away from it because of the fact that they just go based off like, yeah, it's going to be a higher payment. Yeah, I'm forking out all this money. But you forking out all that money is really just you paying for the comfort of the value that you want to give your life. So instead of looking at like, yeah, I'm paying all this money, I'm gratefully able to, invest all this money for the experience of my life, for the experience of my kids, so that my family has a place to call home, that they can freely are able to just live their life without having to worry about, where am I going to be at? I don't have this, with the scarcity mindset more than anything.
Yep. Man, I'm just still going through the motions. Like,
100%. And I feel like we just touched the surface.
I know we haven't even stepped outside to the pool.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff. Even on the outside, if you're walking in, one of the things that I like, I saw the little 3D printout where they let you know the layout of how everything's gonna be, where they do a little like a mini version of the whole like property. Yeah. And I always like to check those out because it lets you know what hasn't been done, what still needs to be done, and their actual vision of the whole project. So if you look outside, and we'll show you guys on the B-roll right now, it looks like this whole place got a haircut. It's like bald, right? But in the mini version of this this whole project, there's trees all over the place, and I really like that because it really made it feel like you're at a park, but with the coast right next to it. We have the bay right there, and just in general, like having the beach close to you and being this close to the bay, I think that really gives a very beachy vibe.
It really does. I mean, like I said, being here doesn't feel like you're in San Diego. It genuinely feels like you're somewhere else other than, San Diego. And this is perfect for San Diegans too, because, sometimes you need a vacation. You don't feel like driving or spending the amount of money on a plane ticket to go somewhere.
Heck no. Staycations here in San Diego is just as fun, bro.
Exactly.
One of the things that comes to mind, and for people that are currently living here, looking to buy here, or just looking to see how can I take advantage of the opportunity of this business, and this massive flow of incoming people coming to the Gaylord Pacific. Well, if you're a current homeowner, you can start looking into, looking to convert your garage, adding square footage to your property, because what's going to happen is that this place is going to get packed in seasons. And the next best thing to people, to find places to look for is going to be Airbnb, short-term rentals, or just accessible places to be able to stay where, people aren't able to pay as much to be here, or they just need a, more flexible place to stay. I think that's going to be a huge, huge opportunity for people to add square footage to their property, or just be able to have, a separate type of business being ran from their property. I think that's going to be a huge opportunity for homeowners in these next coming years.
No, 100%. And I'm glad you brought that up, because Brian, what are we now doing?
The renovations, the fix and flips.
The fix and flips. And not just that, we're not just doing fix and flips, but we're also offering something more of value to our clients. And I feel like here, the Gaylord Pacific Hotel is like the perfect way to announce it, because like you mentioned, it could be the next best thing for a homeowner to add on to the property. So now we are offering ADUs, and that includes not just the ADU itself, but the architectural design and, the permits along with it, which I think is the number one thing that deters homeowners because of the challenges.
So did you know that there's about an 80% fallout rate when homeowners do the project self-build? They take on the project. They want to be the project manager. They want to, go out and get the contractors, work with the subcontractors. And, what I say to that is that, unless you have prior experience, you have major patience, or you just have the flexibility to be able to manage your project, then you're going to have a huge headache having to be the person that runs everything while still having to juggle your life. If you work a 9-to-5 job, if you have a business to run, think about it like you're running a new business while at the same time still running your current life and anything that, comes in between that. So what I advise homeowners is to definitely find a team that can do everything A through Z. And you're just, in a way, being told what's happening and needing your approval to continue to move forward. I think that's the most accessible way for homeowners, for first-time investors to really get started without having to go through the risks, the headaches of having to do everything themselves, and then at the end not finishing the project because you know what, exhausting issues like this will burn you and take away that motivation.
Yeah. So 2 questions for you,
Yeah.
Brian. Now that, we're kind of offering our clients, this extra ADU, how could a homeowner get started on that? Let's say they do have the funds, so that's a clear path
Yep.
for them. But what if they don't have the full funds to fund the project?
So there's a few ways that we've been able to utilize financing to get these ADUs, and the most easiest way is through your equity of the house. So tapping in through your equity through a home equity line of credit or a second mortgage to be able to pull some of those funds to pay for the build. Now, if you don't have the equity, then what you're able to do is also look into hard money financing.
Mhm.
And although that might be a little bit more complex route, you really have to make sure that what you're doing with your property will coincide with the financing that you're getting, because hard money route is usually intended to be used by investors, whereas the home equity line of credit will be more for regular consumers. So knowing that, if you're able to look at your property more through the investment scope, then you could definitely take a look at the hard money financing, maybe turning your current property into an investment and then reaping the benefits of hard money financing.
100%. Thank you for that. And my follow-up question, for kind of touching bases on how, being your own project manager could be exhausting and not having the right resources or connections,
Mhm.
right? I don't know if you're okay with this, but you did mention you're doing an ADU project
of course.
yourself. Can you tell us a little bit,
Yeah.
about how that's going? Because I really want to pick your brain about it because I find it so interesting
Of course.
that one person could hold so much knowledge and experience.
So the way that we did it is nothing I do is ever, ratherly alone, So I have a partner. My partner was the one that was able to connect us with all the contractors. We did get over 10 bids in the project that we were going to do. This was our first project that we did, but thankfully we did our due diligence because we learned a lot about the different types of contractors, the way that they work, whether they're organized, whether they kind of just do things more off impulse or quick movement. And what we realized is that you want to work with someone that has a system, someone that could always go down the line and know where they're at and basically be able to tell you exactly where the project is at. That was one of the biggest things. Now, once you solidify your contractor and you have your guy, the next step was solidifying your permits. That's going to be the first thing. Getting the permits was maybe about 8 to 6 months journey. And once we got those, that's when we were able to hit the ground running. Now, the way that we financed the project was a little bit unique, I'd say. We did it off a seller finance type deal, which, some people know it as subject to. And the subject to is basically to being able to cover the mortgage. So we got deeded in to be able to take over the mortgage payment, but the homeowner still stayed on title of the property, right? So that was, a creative way of being able to get the financing. Now, it's not always going to be able to be done that way, but in this instance, we were able to pull it off. Now, the equity on the property was virtually, huge. So what we did is utilize a lot of that equity to tap in, take out over $300,000 for the build, which we're doing a garage conversion with a 2-bedroom to 2-bath, and then on top, likewise, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath mirroring the bottom. Now, in total, we're at $380,000, and that means that we have all payments for that monthly loan to be paid through the equity, the budget for the construction to be paid through the equity, and all the costs of the contractor also were wrapped up into this one loan. Now, it did come in a form of a second loan, and the goal here is that once the build is completed, we're going to be doing what's called a DSCR refinance. That DSCR refinance, in the most simplest terms, is a loan that is utilized for investment properties that are going to be turned into rentals after you fix and flip it or fix to hold. So you're able to utilize this type of financing to go based off the rental income of the property, and that's your personal income to qualify for this financing. So that's where it gets very, very, very lucrative, where you're able to leverage properties that don't tie you to your income, but rather the income of the property. And this is where I say now your money's working for you. So that's how we're going to be able to, quote unquote, complete the project, take it from, completion, and then turn it into an investment property. So right now we're in the stages of finishing where they're getting the stucco in, the insulation inside. And then once we get that completed, it's all just inspections and getting things cleared so that we can get what's called our certificate of occupation, which that means then we could get renters in there and then start this thing.
Dude,
yeah. So I hope that all made sense and I was able to kind of give you a breakdown of what we're constantly going through. And one of the things I will say is nothing is perfect. It's a learning experience. I'm learning a lot of what's happening in the project. But one of the things we did decide not to do is self manage the project. So we definitely do have a team that's there helping us understand the day in and day outs. And we do mortgages day in and day out. We're in real estate. So it's very tough for us to be actively in the project at all times. Luckily, I do live in the property, so I do see firsthand what's happening. But again, I don't know, construction. I know how to do the financing. I know that these things are able to be done. So I let the professionals do what they do.
Hell yeah, dude. Thank you for sharing that. And it's hopefully, that kind of gave some insight. And if that was a little bit too complex, please let us know, comment down below or shoot us a DM and we'll break it down Barney style.
Yeah. And, like I said, like a lot of this stuff is very complex, but it doesn't have to be if you have the right team. Just like, when I need to go get a medical analysis, I'm not WebMDing myself and letting myself know what the diagnosis is, bro. I'll go crazy.
Yeah.
I go to the doctor who's the professional that's going to let me know what to do, to give me the instruction. And then it's my decision whether I want to follow suit or not. It's the same thing when you look into financing, when you look into buying a house, go with the professional, let them give you their opinion. It doesn't mean that you have to do exactly what they say, but they're going to let you know where you stand, give you a different scope of your situation from a point of view that, they look at this every day. So definitely do that to yourself. And then from there, take the best decision that fits your plan.
Sweet. No, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Definitely learn something new every day.
Thank you, man. Yeah, of course. All of us, man. And I think a lot of us could take, a little nugget of information every day and apply it to your life.
Yes, sir. Man, so with the Gaylord Pacific, right? I'm bringing this up a lot just because we're here.
Yeah, no, of course.
Might as well.
That's the whole reason.
The whole reason, right? So what is this going to do for rent around the area?
Very, very good question. So I feel within maybe about a year to 2 years, once you really see what the business is, what the flow of operations is here, if we do see a heavy impact, which means that a lot of people do want to come here, I can foreshadow that the properties and the rents around the area here in the west part of Chula Vista are going to go up. And the reason being is because there's going to be a higher demand for people wanting to live here, wanting to live around here, or come just experience what's around. I am a firm believer that this is just the start to what's happening here in the west part of Chula Vista. And this is just going to be the opening to, a lot more other types of experiences, businesses, or even just in general types of investments that are going to come to the west side. So I'm positively, saying that they are going to go up. So that means one of two things for homeowners: prepare yourself. And if you're looking to break into this market, do it quicker rather than later.
100%. Because I mean, looking at it from the bigger picture, like as soon as more homeowners start to, build ADUs or renovate to sell, I feel like that's also going to have an effect on the price it's going to cost to do that.
Definitely.
I feel like it's going to increase. I mean, it's simple, supply and demand, the more demand there is.
And that's what I'm keen on seeing how much demand this place actually brings and how much of that then starts to sprinkle out into the communities.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, especially, one of the things that, comes to mind is for this specific location, we're only 5 to 10 minutes away from the nearest military installation.
Yes.
Now, for my military members, what's one way, or another option other than being, 5-10 minutes away from base, right? What's another option for them? I mean, I'd personally say maybe go down to San Ysidro, maybe a little bit more East County, or maybe up north might be the option. But what's your opinion on that?
So I feel that if you're in the military, you're relatively here in the San Diego Chula Vista area, I think you could look at this as a leverage point. What I mean by that is that VA has the opportunity to be able to buy a duplex, a triplex, or a quadplex. Utilize the rents from those units or rooms to be able to qualify for the mortgage. Now, if you're able to tap into the Chula Vista or South Bay market, what you'll be able to do is find a property that you can house hack. And I think that's one of the biggest things with the VA loan that, not many have the opportunity to do. And I think by doing that, you can leverage other units, maybe rent them out for people that can't, get a room here for the event that they're at, or don't want to pay the price that, the hotel's giving them for the short stay that they're going to be. They rather get an
100%.
Airbnb, minimize the cost, take care of things themselves. You're able to do that by having, multiple units at your property, and you can leverage it by living in one of them and having virtually it be paid by, the expense of others.
Hey, man, brother. I mean, shoot, already being military, you have access to the VA home loan, which is one of the most powerful tools that you could,
100%.
honestly start generational wealth. And I feel like since we're still in the early stages, any military member stationed in National City, 32nd Street, or even Coronado, because it's literally right across, or even, the Imperial Beach base that we have here, if you didn't know.
Yeah. My family members, my in-laws live right by there. So
that little
all day.
air station, right? I mean, I feel like them having access to the VA home loan, they could really use it to leverage and get in the market early, since we're still in these early stages. And as the years go on, I mean, whether they want to resell or, like you said, rental properties, they could honestly beat the market when it comes to renting.
So here's a nugget. And for those listening, just like you have war buddies, definitely look at having your real estate buddies in the service. What I mean by that is that did you know that you're able to buy a house with one of your military buddies, go 50-50 on the house, which basically means half of your entitlement to half of their entitlement, no money down, but that does not mean no money out of pocket. You can buy the house together, live in it for a few years while you're stationed here. And if you guys decide to peace out once you're done with your service here, then you guys can virtually sell it or turn it into a rental and continue to reap the benefits. Like you said, build that generational income, or just set yourself up to then go to the next place with, some money in your pocket or better allocated resources so that you can really live out the life that you want.
100%. And we truly mean it when we say it. We are your real estate battle buddies.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Stop buying buzzballs on the weekend and come to our free,
or you know what we should do? We should bring your buzzballs, come to the workshop, and then we can all have a good time together after you guys get some information that's going to help you not worry about the buzzballs, and you can just buy them all the time and have them in your refrigerator at home.
Exactly. At your house.
At your house.
Not at the barracks, not on base housing, at your house.
And you know what's cool about it? That, if you already live with your military buddies, you guys could all buy a property together, and that could be your home base. That could be where you guys literally do whatever you want, have the entertainment, go back after you have crazy days, but, you're not subject to having to, go back into base, have a curfew or any of those things. It's your house. You live in it. Your freedom.
Don't have to worry about duty. I mean, firsthand, I feel like being able to disconnect from the military life is such an amazing thing, and detrimental, honestly, not just to the service member, but to their mental health.
Yeah.
Because, being on base, you're already working. You already know you're in uniform. And as soon as you're out of uniform, you still have to follow those rules and regulations, which nothing against it. It's military at the end of the day. But being able to have that disconnection is key to mental health, at least in my opinion, because I've gone through it firsthand. And living on base was part of the reason why I decided to be like, all right, I need to move out base.
No, 100%. And I feel that that's something that's very under talked about. And, one of the things that I could, relate it to is that whenever I leave my office or leave my workplace, the first thing I do is get myself out of my uniform or my work clothes, right? Because it mentally just changes my way of thinking of like, okay, I'm out of that work mode. I'm at home mode. Even though I still get some work done, my mindset is a lot different. But what I could connect it to is that when you leave the military, your day of, being in military work or whatnot, you go back and you're still in the same environment.
Yeah.
Regardless of how you ever want to put it, like you're still in the same environment. So therefore you don't really get to give yourself the opportunity of feeling like I'm out. you know, because you're still within those walls of the base of the community that you're part
The
of.
rules and regulations. If you stumble upon some salty gunny or some salty corporal, they're gonna be like, "Hey, fix your fucking ass." It's like, I get it, but there has to be a disconnection.
And I can guarantee you that everybody goes through that uncomfortable situation where they're like, I wish I could get out of here.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like some military leaders overstep too on base. I mean, personal encounter. I was at the MCX on base, and this is me as a veteran, not active duty still. And some gunnery sergeant comes up, and I had my baseball cap on. He was like, "Hey, devil dog, take off your fucking cap." I'm like, "Excuse me?" And I'm here with my wife. I'm like, "Excuse me? Who are you?" He's and like that. I know that pulled the trigger. Because I mean,
You don't talk to me the way that I talk to me.
if that was me, I mean, I would have lost my shit too if it was another Marine telling me that. And just some salty ass gunny comes up. He's like, "You're gonna take your fucking cover off this," and I'm like, "Hey, I get it, but there's a time and a place, and you as a gunnery sergeant should know this better than anybody. You're a gunnery sergeant, bro. Like, you've been in the Marines for quite some time, and it's like there's a time and a place. I'm here with my wife, and we're just trying to get quick shopping in before we continue our trip to Disneyland, right?" But it's just like stuff like that, being able to disconnect from that environment. And I don't know, just military, you may stumble upon military leaders like that, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's all, you know, things like that could be like your boiling point. So, you know, before you get to that point, just know that you have options.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I feel we covered a lot, man. I think we should go check out the rest of the Gaylord Pacific.
Yeah, we'll cut to some B-roll, maybe show you guys that pool. And
yeah, let's go.
Let's go, brother.
Let's go.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.